Hi there, I'm Nimish Patel Owen, and you're listening to Live Your True Self, episode number 75. After 18 years doing corporate, in 2018, it became about doing me, doing what I love. Not that long ago, I too felt a deep desire to be something more, asking myself, who am I anyway, and what's my purpose? Full of self-doubt and fear of failure, fast forward to this moment and you'll see a version of me that's true to myself. Calm, confident and clearer than ever before, despite the drama. Inspired by Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita, one must deliver himself with the help of the mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So perspective is everything. No matter where you are on your personal growth journey as a high achiever, I'm here to guide you. Together, we'll step out of your head, the busyness in your mind, and drop into your heart, the space where lasting transformation begins, so that you too can awaken your true self and live life more meaningfully in this moment, even in the messiness. Take a deep breath and listen on in. Hi there! I hope you're well and you've found goodness and growth in your week. Today, I've got something really insightful for you. One of those episodes where you want to grab a notebook and really settle in. From one high achiever to another, I know what it feels like to strive for greatness and push yourself beyond sometimes what you desire, to dream big, to work tirelessly, to reach your goals, and then set even higher ones. Been there, done that, know what it feels like. And it's an amazing journey, but let's be honest, it's not without its challenges. The highs of ambition can be just like so fueling and incredible, but the lows, those moments of self-doubt, perfectionism, or overwhelm, like they're real. They are real. And sometimes it can feel a little bit or too much, where you end up questioning yourself and having a little wobble. And I've been there, balancing, the desire to make a meaningful impact with the need to look after my well-being and, kind of balancing the work side of things and the personal side of things and family commitments, etc. And there were times when I felt proud of my ambition, but also, kind of like had this internal busyness and dialogue with that little voice whispering, am I doing enough? Is this enough? And that's why this episode is so close to my heart. And it's actually a long time in the making, because I'm a high achiever and my guess is you're a high achiever, and that is my audience base. Predominantly the clients that come to me are high achievers. They're super ambitious. They are heart-centered and have this real desire to make a greater impact and difference. But we spend a lot of time in our minds questioning, doubting, spinning in some drama. And that's what I'm here to help you with. And so we're going to explore what it really means to be a high achiever, the pros that fuel our success, as well as the cons that can sometimes trip us up, and most importantly, how to work with these qualities so you can thrive without losing yourself and staying connected to who you truly are in the process. And this is very much from my own lived experience. And so as I say, it's a heart-to-heart conversation. You want to grab your notebook, because I have put a lot of thought into this one and really tried to put this together in a way that is digestible and also practical for you to take away and implement. And the episode itself is packed, as I say, with like practical tools, personal stories, and strategies to really help you channel and drive into being who you are and what you truly desire in a life that's not only successful, but also, balanced and fulfilled and achieved in a meaningful way. And so here's how I think of being a high achiever. And you're going to love my analogy. For me, it's a bit like being a swan. Being a high achiever is a bit like being a swan. Gliding like gracefully on the surface, like the beautiful pureness of a swan, while paddling profusely behind the scenes, right? Underneath. Paddling. So on the outside, there's this kind of elegant and well-kept drive and determination and, this real sort of grace and chin up type of exterior and visual. But underneath that, there's a lot of hard work. There's self-doubt, there's moments of struggle, and there's just this constant paddle, right? We're constantly almost going upstream. And some of that is self-created, and of course some of that is external factors as well. So, both parts, but we're going upstream. And as I say, I've lived this, right? Building a successful career over 18 years, then establishing my business and running my business for the last 5+ years at this point. And again, at this point, kind of doing both, right? Running a business and actually delivering a contract. And I've learned along the way to embrace both the benefits of being a high achiever and also the challenges of being a high achiever and the mindset of a high achiever. And it's something I've really delved into, and it's the audience that I serve, it's the people that I love to work with and I love to help, because that's who I am, and it resonates with me so much in terms of how I experience life and how I do things that, I feel like it's my duty and my purpose to part that wisdom and that learning and that growth and, practical ways to overcome that with you. And that's what we're doing. And as I say, for me, it starts with understanding the mindset of a high achiever. We're wired to think big. All right, does that resonate with you? I bet. We're wired to think big, always kind of looking ahead, setting big, bold goals and, constantly trying to figure out how to make them happen, and really just looking for the next thing and the next thing, and just driving forward. But this forward thinking mindset can feel like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's such a gift and such a strength, and almost I'd say it's a superpower, right? The drive and the determination is just so so great to have. And, we're resilient and we're focused and we're determined and we're hungry. And, we have this kind of desire to succeed, right? We had this desire to succeed, and also like this belief that we can achieve anything we set our minds to, right? Deep down, we do have this belief that we can achieve the thing, whatever it might be, the goal that you have in mind. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't even go after it, right? It wouldn't even be a thought. The fact that we have that thought, the fact that we have those big goals and we think big, is because there is something within us that says it's possible. But on the flip side of this, that same mindset can turn against us, right? Pushing us to chase perfection, to overthink every detail, or to question and second guess whether we're like truly enough, whether we're doing enough, even when we've already achieved so much. Like, we're always looking forward, and we rarely are able to see and acknowledge how far we have come, what we have accomplished, what we have achieved and overcome, and where we find ourselves now. And like, genuinely, I know this so well, not only from my own experiences, but also from my clients, because these are the conversations we have time and time again about the importance of really seeing what's happening in their mind. And for me, there were times when I was so focused on the next big thing that I forgot to celebrate how far I'd come. It just wasn't even a thing. It wasn't even something I paid attention to. I rarely acknowledged myself. I was just on to the next thing before any sort of celebration. Or I pushed myself so hard that I didn't leave space to, kind of like just almost breathe and pause and reflect and let my brain catch up with what I had actually achieved. Does that sound familiar? It's almost like sometimes your brain is like 2 steps behind to like the reality of what you've actually done. And sometimes it's the other way around. But when you push yourself so much, and when you're in the other side of that mindset, you really are not able to see the goodness within you and also around you, and yet it's right there. Does that sound familiar? I know, like, oh my God, I just know this so well. But here's the truth. The high achiever's mindset is super powerful, right? This is who we are, right? It is our gift, and it is an amazing gift, but it requires us to pay attention. It requires us to pay attention to it, and it requires balance. It requires us to be intentional about it. And it's about using our ambition and our drive as a strength while learning to pay attention and quieten that inner dialogue, that inner critique, the monkey mind, whatever you want to call it, that tells us that we need to do more, or we need to be more, and we need to achieve more, and that we're not good enough, and that we've not done enough, and that we're we're just not there yet. And this episode is all about helping to guide you through how to embrace this mindset without letting it control you, right? And as I say, the key thing is noticing that having this high achiever mindset, if what I've said resonates with you and you resonate with being a high achiever and having these tendencies, then, I see it as a gift. 100%, it is an absolute gift, but it requires us to be so intentional about that gift. So today you will learn how to focus on progress over perfection, how to acknowledge your wins and celebrate yourself, let go of the how, right? And this desire of needing to know how things are gonna happen, how you're gonna achieve this, and that need to have it all figured out right now, and so much more, right? There is just so much more that I'm sharing with you today. And essentially, it's going to be based around me sharing 6 pros of being a high achiever, 6 cons of being a high achiever, and then we'll talk about some practical ways to work with those pros and cons. And these are like things for you to really take away and implement so that you can really be intentional about being a high achiever. And then I'll just share, what I would invite you to think and why it's so important. So let's get started. Here are my 6 pros of being a high achiever. Number 1, ambition. Right? As a high achiever, we set big goals to pursue with this real hunger and determination and dedication. It's almost like it's like a healthy obsession. And what you want, and you will do whatever it takes to get it. And you don't settle for this kind of mediocrity. And there's this just desire in you, but there's also this belief in you that you can achieve it and that it can be yours, albeit sometimes it feels like you have no idea how. You have no plan, but you've got your eye on it. And so number 1 is ambition. Number 2 is being highly driven. And we kind of touched on that on the previous one. But what I would say on this one is there's this inner fire that pushes us to continuously improve and achieve more. And certainly for me, it's one of my values, which is to continuously improve. It's this idea of continuous improvement. And that comes from my business improvement days in corporate, where we're always looking for efficiencies and looking to do things differently and to improve and to grow and to adjust and to tweak and to do better. And with that also this idea of wanting to achieve more. Number 3 is our work ethic, right? So one of the pros of being a high achiever, is our work ethic. When we commit to something, we give it our all. When we commit to something, we give it our all. We pour our time, effort, and energy to the thing and getting the job done, even if it's hard, even if it's a challenge and difficult. We'll put in the hours. We'll do what it takes, essentially. But we have this real high work ethic to getting the thing done. Number 4, and again, we've spoken about this, but like there's just this determination, right? Determination. We keep going no matter what. No matter how tough things are, we keep going. We do not give up easily. We do not give up without a fight. And yes, sometimes we're on our knees and we have a mini meltdown, and we'll come on to that in the cons. But we are, it's almost like actually what I say is relentless in a good way. You know, we just have this tendency of never giving up. We believe in the thing that we want so much. We have so much ambition. We're super driven, and we're just not giving up. Like, we're going to keep going no matter what it takes, no matter the setbacks, no matter the obstacles, no matter what comes in our way. Number 5, the pro is desire to make a difference. As high achievers, we want to create a meaningful impact and make a difference in the world, whether that's in our work, in our family, in our community, in our relationships, like whatever that may be. There's just a bit more of a deeper rooted, heart-centered, purpose-driven characteristic in us. And that's just such a beautiful tendency. Like, we go deep in terms of our desire to make a difference and impact. And it's coming from a place of serving others and coming from a place of helping others. And again, in going back to the improvement piece, it's, making things better. And that is certainly my experience for myself. But as I say, also working with the high achievers and my clients, there's just this real tendencies to make things better, help people be better, whatever that may be in terms of helping. And that actually takes me on to number 6, pros of being a high achiever, a desire to help others. We have this strong sense of purpose that often leads us to support others, to, go above and beyond sometimes what we can do and outside of our boundaries, but that's just who we are. And whether that's through knowledge sharing or offering a helping hand or just being there or taking the pressure off someone or checking in with someone or just doing more. Like, we are just so there to help others. And that is such a beautiful pro of being a high achiever. So they are my 6 pros. And there are more, and we've kind of jumbled them up around and they're all sort of interlinked. But they are the 6 that I came up with. By all means, see if you can come up with any for you. Like, what do you feel in terms of being a high achiever that is your strength? So here are my 6 cons of being a high achiever. So these are the kind of watch outs, I would say, and things to work on and things to be intentional about. Number 1, perfectionism. The need for everything to be perfect. I know you know it, right? I know you know it. The need for everything to be perfect can make it so hard for us to finish tasks kind of on time without, taking longer than it needs to, without kind of burnout, without feeling overwhelmed and, exhausted by it. And, just being stuck by it, and it's this idea that everything has to be perfect, in terms of the doing, but also the being, right? Who we're being. And so this is a watch out. And it usually looks like when you constantly find yourself reworking or redoing the thing, right? Whatever it might be, whether it's the document, the presentation, the email, the prep, the plan, whatever it might be, you just constantly reworking, redoing, because you're striving for perfection. And so really notice if that's what you're doing. Number 2, watch out, is overwhelm. And this is about taking on too much, right? Trying to do too many things, which I've mentioned already, but kind of leads to burnout, leads to exhaustion. I describe it as a bit of a mini meltdown where you're just juggling all the plates and you can't. And you feel overwhelmed by it all. And overwhelm happens in your mind, right? The things are the things. The spinning plates are the spinning plates, but it's your thoughts about the spinning plates. It's you trying to be the perfectionist in relation to those spinning plates. That's why it's feeling overwhelming. So that's another one to watch out for. Number 3, high expectations. We have high expectations of ourselves, and we are setting the bar high, which can be motivating, but also leads to frustration when those expectations aren't met. And that's where we end up judging ourselves harshly and beating ourselves up for not meeting our goals or timescales or, expectations. And so that is a watch out. And also sometimes, whilst we have high expectations of ourselves, sometimes we also have high expectations of others and can also, again, sometimes judge others also. So one to watch out for. And just know, it's totally normal. I've been there, done that. Definitely don't, just don't do that now, because I'm so much more aware of it, particularly judging others. That is just something that I worked on some time ago, a couple of years ago, when I did my monk challenge, in fact, and I just let go of judgment at that point. I just made a deal with myself and said, I do not judge others. I do not judge myself. It's just not useful. And when you judge others, actually you're judging yourself. And so interestingly, when I actually was mindful of that and stopped judging others, then it really just helped me stop judging myself. And it's almost like I am what I am, you are what you are. And I leaned into this idea of we are all doing our best. We're all doing our best with what we have. But anyway, that is a way of dealing with high expectations, which we'll come on in a minute. But number 3 is high expectations. One to watch out for. Number 4, self-doubt. And I've done a lot of work on this one. Even the most accomplished high achievers, right? Most accomplished high achievers, think of Oprah, think of Michelle Obama, Brené Brown, think of Elizabeth Gilbert, any of those real familiar faces. We can all struggle with self-doubt and with imposter syndrome and, second guessing ourselves and feeling like we're not good enough. It is a thing. And actually, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing has gone wrong with doubting yourself and having this tendency. It's what you do with it. It's what you do about it, and it's how you respond to it is the key. And it's almost like working with it and not against it. And I've got a training on this, which is 3 simple steps to smash self-doubt. And the key premise of that is, this idea that doubt is not a problem unless you make it one. Doubt is not a problem unless you make it one. And that is what you see from some of these, famous, inspiring women out there and men, which is they have doubt, right? They're on stage, they're doing all the big things, they're open to criticism, risk, judgment, failure, all the things. They have doubt. Please do not think they don't, right? They so do. But they don't make doubt a problem, right? And that's on us. And so that is a watch out. Number 4 is self-doubt. And linked to that is imposter syndrome, right? Feeling like you're going to be found out, right? Feeling like you're not qualified, you don't have the knowledge and experience, and, like that, you're an imposter. It's like, you will get found out and people will get onto you, and, you're not being true to who you are. So that is a watch out. Number 5 is overthinking, right? This, another one, big one to pay attention to. Overthinking in our mind, constantly analysing everything can slow us down and prevent us from taking action and showing up who we truly are. And we are overthinking things in a way that is not useful. And actually, I've got a podcast episode where overthinking is not a problem, but it depends what you're overthinking, right? If you're overthinking all the good things and the positive intentions and the intentional thinking and having belief in your goal and who you are and what you're going after. Like, if you're overthinking all the good stuff and all the useful stuff, crack on, keep overthinking on those things, right? That is fuel, and that will make you feel good and you will take action from feeling good. However, the watch out here is overthinking things from a place of fear versus from a place of love, right? Thinking, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What will they think of me? Right? That was a big one for me. Always overthinking what people will think of me and creating stories in my mind before the thing, like before I'd even presented or before I'd even ran the workshop or whatever it might be. I'd already made up this story in my head about what they will think of me, and that's me overthinking. And in terms of failure, it's failing ahead of time. So you're thinking thoughts that are making you fail before you've even done the thing, right? And that is all self-manufactured. That is all happening in our minds. And that is something for us to watch out for, right? Overthinking. It is tiring and draining and consuming and takes up so much of our time, effort, and energy, right? Out of all those things, you could argue that overthinking goes into all of them. So like perfectionism, overwhelm, the high expectations, the doubt, all of that, comes under this tendency of overthinking. And so it's really one to watch out for, really paying attention to your thoughts and you know that this is what I'm about and this is what I help people do, like really organize their mindset and really pay attention to what's going on in their mind so that they, water all the good stuff, all the positive thoughts, and they don't water the weeds, right? So we want the flowers to flourish and grow. We don't want the weeds to flourish. We don't want that negative, unhelpful, unuseful thoughts of fear and worry and stress and not good enough. Like, that is not something we need to be watering. And so pay attention to overthinking. Number 6, another watch out, is self-care and crossing our boundaries, right? Or perhaps not having clear boundaries. And this is about, like, as high achievers, often we put everyone else's needs before ours, right? So we neglect our own well-being, our own desires or likes or preferences before others, and then we feel bad about ourselves. And so it's really important, again, to pay attention to having, not having boundaries in the first place in terms of how you operate, and staying within your boundaries and honoring your boundaries, and then really noticing when you're outside of that and when you're into, kind of burnout, overwhelm, you're not sleeping great, you're feeling stressed, anxious, tired, whatever it may be, because now you're slipped into a lack of self-care, right? You are not putting your needs before others. And the analogy here that I always love to go back to is the oxygen mask analogy, right? We said that high achievers are here to help others. Well, in order to help others, you need to put your mask on first, right? That was something I did not understand or never really paid attention to until I got sick. And I realized that if I couldn't get out of bed in the morning, I was no good to my kiddos. Like, I could not help them. I could not be there for them. And so I had to take care of myself first in order for me to be able to get out of bed and do the things and take care of them in a way that I wanted to. And so that is my watch out, number 6, for you to really pay attention to: self-care and boundaries, like overstepping your boundaries. So what else? What are your watch outs for being a high achiever? What has sparked for you? Be sure to take a moment to pause and to capture any of your pros of being a high achiever, and, as I say, any of your cons of being a high achiever, in addition to what I've shared with you. And what I would say is just know that it's all good. Like, in fact, it's not good or not good. Really, I probably shouldn't even say pros or cons. It is what it is. Like, it's not good or bad. It just is. And it's how we navigate through it. And so let's move on to that. Let's talk about practical ways to work with being a high achiever, right? How do we use this to our advantage and intentionally go about navigating through the things we've spoken about? So the first thing is channeling our ambition and drive intentionally, right? It's about using your ambition as a superpower and as a gift, but not letting it lead to burnout, right? Break your big goals into smaller, more focused steps, and remember to celebrate those small wins and big wins and those milestones along the way. Right? As high achievers, we often overlook the importance of pausing to acknowledge our progress. But as I say, the small wins build momentum and keep you energized. And every small step is a step forward. And we've got to acknowledge those small steps because they lead to the big changes, which is what we're all about. Another way is to manage perfectionism, right? And, we have talked about this being quite a big thing. And this is how I go about it. Like, let go of the idea that everything needs to be perfect. And I know that's easier said than done, right? Let go of the need for everything to be 100%. Instead, focus on progress, right? Focus on progress, not perfection. And someone said that somewhere, and you've probably heard it before. Remind yourself that done is better than perfect. Because when you're striving for perfect, you're not getting it done. You're just constantly reworking and tweaking and adjusting, and you're sitting on it essentially, right? And so done is better than perfect. And that is a belief that you can tune into. That is a thought you can have in your mind. Because think of a time when you hesitated to finish or share something because it didn't feel good enough, right? And chances are it was already amazing, right? It was already good enough, but not to your standards, right? So trust that your best effort, where you are with what you have, with the time available, is enough. And know that perfection often delays the greatness, right? Perfection often delays the goodness that you have. So you need to just get that goodness out. And I often go to the Pareto's law of 80-20, right? 80% is good enough, right? And you just let go of the 20%. Because that 20% is actually keeping you stuck and keeping your goodness from getting out there, whatever that looks like for you. So that's how to manage perfectionism, right? Let go of it. Let go of that idea in the first place and tune into done is better than perfect. The 80-20 rule, and just ask yourself, like, is this 8% done? Perfect. Let it go. That in itself is perfect, right? So the new perfect is 80% versus 100%. And you get to play around with it, right? Create your own idea of what is perfect, and know that there is no perfect, right? Your idea of what's perfect, and my idea of what's perfect, and the next person's idea of what's perfect is all different. So actually there is no measure of what is perfect. It's all happening in our mind. In which case it's perfect, because we get to change that, right? If it's happening in our mind, it's great because we're in control of it. And that is perfect. Oh my God, too many perfects. Okay, moving on. What else? Okay, set realistic expectations. Be kind to yourself, right? And this is something I really, really tuned into in the past 5 years or so since starting my business, right? Be kind to yourself. Yes, it's great to have high standards and high expectations, but not everything needs to be done immediately or at 100% or at 110%, right? Ask yourself, what needs to be done and what is most important. And tune into 3 things. And that's something I practice on a daily basis. Is at the beginning of the day when I've done my morning routine, whatever, and I sit down and get into work mode, one of the first things I do is write my 3 most important tasks, 3 MITs. And that is me setting realistic expectations for myself. It's not about trying to do everything and this massive long to-do list. It's about being really clear on what I want to achieve and learning to prioritize what really matters. And that can be freeing, and it can free up your energy for what's most important without trying to spread yourself thin across so many things and then beating yourself up for not achieving them. And you can ask yourself, what is good enough? What is truly good enough? And be clear on what that looks like for you. If you can come up with a measure, is it a certain amount of slides? Is it a certain amount of pages? Is it a certain amount of time you spend on something? Is it, coming up with key elements of whatever it is that you're working on or about to do? So ask yourself that question, right? Set realistic expectations for yourself based on how the circumstance that you find yourself in the moment. So every day will be different. Your energy will be different. Your circumstances will be different. Your environment might be different. Your cycle, like you might be in a different state in your monthly cycle for women out there, right? So set realistic expectations of yourself. Sometimes you can do way more, and other times you might not be able to, and that's all good, right? Just be really clear with yourself on a given day. Okay, what's next? Overcome self-doubt. And I would almost say, like, break free from self-doubt. So when self-doubt creeps in, and you'll notice that coming out in the, kind of not good enough thoughts, it's time to remind yourself of the amazing things that you have achieved already, right? And reminding yourself that doubt is not a problem. So you could write down a list. Excuse me, sneezing here. You could write down a list of your strengths and your accomplishments and what you have achieved, and just tune into some goodness, tune into some gratitude, tune into anything that kind of boosts your confidence, right? And it's almost like literally you're feeding your confidence, right? Your confidence is within, right? It is something that you have within already, but doubt just crept in, and it's just a case of you just got to access confidence again and like really water that by tuning into some of the goodness. And tell yourself that, write it down, talk to yourself, look in the mirror, write post-its, like whatever it may be, and know that your past wins and accomplishments prove your capabilities, no matter how big, no matter how small. Like, you have done stuff, and you get to remind yourself of those things. And remember that even the most successful people experience doubt, like we've said that already. But as I say, what sets them apart is their ability to keep going no matter what, and their ability to not make that a problem, right? Not make self-doubt a problem, and actually use self-doubt to fuel them, and to know that, they are doing something out of their comfort zone and open to risk, criticism, and failure. Because that's the truth. When we feel doubt, it's because we are doing something we haven't done before, right? It's because it is open to, those things, and we may not get it right, and that's okay. And that's why we need to access so much kindness towards ourselves. Okay, what else? Overthinking. So notice the overthinking, right? Notice what is happening in your mind. And that in itself is a practical way to work with overthinking, because it's happening. But as soon as you notice it, you catch yourself. And as soon as you catch yourself, you break the cycle of unhelpful overthinking, whatever it might be, because it can be exhausting, and that is what's keeping you stuck, right? It's not the thing. It's not the fact that you've got this big goal or the big task or this big project to deliver and you're short of time. It's because you're overthinking. That is what's keeping you stuck, and that's what's making you take, longer, or making you feel the way you feel. So the next time you find yourself stuck in a loop of overthinking and questioning and, analyzing and over-analyzing, set catch yourself, so notice it, and then set a time limit to decide or act. And then trust yourself to make the best choice with the information that you have. Right? And so what I mean by this is notice what you're thinking and then intentionally decide what you want to think instead. What do you want to water instead? Here's the truth. Action builds clarity, right? Action reveals progress, no matter what it is. And even if it's not perfect, forward movement often leads to the answers that you're seeking. So you can spend all the time in your mind overthinking, or you can just take action, right? And all will be revealed. Like, just trust yourself to notice what's happening in your mind. And despite what's happening in your mind, if you can, decide and tune into something you do want to think and then take action from that place. This really is about organizing your mind to help you move forward. Okay, another practical way, and this builds on everything we've said, and I did a recent podcast on this one, give yourself grace. High achievers often hold themselves to impossible standards, right? We've spoken about that. And, we kind of think that we're some kind of superhuman, superwoman with, levels of productivity and success and this ability to do all the things and, just generally be swan-like. And I love being swan-like, but in order to be swan-like, you've got to give yourself grace. Because here's the thing, we're human. We are not a machine. Yeah. And, we have feelings and we have needs and we have requirements and we've got to fill ourselves up, and you have to allow yourself to rest without guilt and recharge without apology and know that you're doing your best, and that is enough. In fact, that is more than enough, right? Imagine how you'd speak to a friend in your shoes. Offer yourself that same kindness, whatever you would say to them if they're feeling, overwhelmed or burnt out or frustrated or tired or whatever it might be. You would say to them, pause, take some time out, go do something that fills you up, that brings you energy, whatever that might be. You get to do that and check in with yourself all the time. So give yourself grace, express self-kindness. This is, oh my gosh, such a big thing I have created in my life, and I'm so grateful, because when you give yourself grace, you can give others so much more grace. Because you learn to do it to yourself, in which case you learn to do it at such a more deeper and profound level for others. You can do that, right? Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace for being here and listening to this podcast. All right? Not everybody's doing that, but you are here and you are taking all of this in. So yes, give yourself a lot of love for that. Okay, next one. Focus on where you are now. Right? This is present moment thinking. This is groundedness. This is being in the moment. It's so easy for us to focus on what's next and how far we've still got to go, right, to achieve our goals. But this, we get to focus on where we are and how far we've come. And it's a concept that I learned in The Gap and the Game. The gap and the gain. Instead of focusing on the gain, instead of focusing on the gap, which is how far you've got to go, to reach your goal, you instead focus on the gain, which is how far you've come already. Right? Reflect on the growth, the learning, the lessons, the milestones, everything that you've achieved, no matter how small. Like, you know what it took to achieve those things under the circumstances, under the, the pressure and the feelings and the life stuff. You know what it took to achieve that. So you get to focus on the gain versus, oh my God, I've still got this to do. And this whole long list of stuff that you haven't done already. Focus on what you have done. And this perspective not only reduces overwhelm, but reminds you that progress, not perfection, is what truly matters. So really focus on where you are now and how far you've come. And let that drive you and your actions forward. Because now you're filled up, right? Now you're like glass half full, if not fuller, like full. And that is where you're taking action from versus glass half empty. The next one is prioritizing self-care and well-being. And we spoke about this as obviously something to really pay attention to, because something I've learned is, and you've heard it before, self-care is not selfish. It's necessary, right? It's self-respect. It's self-love. So if you do anything, like please get clear on your non-negotiables. And your non-negotiables are, no matter what happens, like these practices, these habits, these rituals, whatever it is, feature in your daily life. And it will be things like daily movement, right? Moving your body moves your mind. Connecting with nature, walking, journaling, hydration, quality sleep, like connecting with your loved ones, with your friends, your family, nurturing your relationships. These habits fuel your energy and your clarity, and it is gold. It's just real gold. It's like you filling yourself up in such a beautiful way. And these things are free. They don't cost anything. You just have to have an intention and a desire to take care of yourself. And I promise, the habits, they will just come, and they just become habitual, and they just become part of who you are. You don't have to think about doing them. And think of it this way. You've heard this, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? When you take care of yourself, you show up stronger for everything and everyone else, right? So you've got to fill up your cup first. And that's all about self-care and well-being. And, I've mentioned it before in the podcast, there is no one size fits all. Like all the practices, all the modalities, all the things, all the beautiful, beautiful wellness practices that we are gifted with at this time in our life, it's all there to support and help us. Like, tune into what feels good for you. You do not have to do all the things, right? Do not get overwhelmed by it. So we spoke about that. Just find what feels good for you. Maybe one thing, maybe three things, like whatever it is, but make sure these things feature in your day, right? This is about fueling your mind, body, and soul. And that's how I like to think of it. Do something for your mind, do something for your body, do something for your soul, whatever that might be. Okay, let's keep going. Ask for help and seek support. High achievers often feel like they have to do everything alone. And asking for help is a weakness. And that is not true, right? Asking for help is a sign of strength, right? It's a sign of not knowing everything, because nobody knows everything. And whether it's delegating or leaning on loved ones or colleagues, or seeking professional guidance or fresh, new ideas or perspectives, it can lighten your load and it can help you find smarter ways and more intentional ways to move forward. But you have to be willing to ask for help and seek support. And it's like, you reach your hand out for help, and I promise you, somebody is out there reaching out their hand to help you. And that brings me on to, getting support. And I said seek support, but this is about specifically getting coaching, right? Sometimes the best way to work through challenges is with the support of someone who truly understands and listens and acknowledges and, is able to replay back to you your mind. And that's what coaching is about, right? A coach can help you gain clarity and develop strategies and navigate the mental and emotional hurdles that come from being a high achiever, right? I am here to support you as a coach to help you see what's happening in your mind and to help you unpack that and organize your thinking so that it's in alignment with who you truly are and what you are going after, right? What your goals are. And, I love to think of it as in your number one asset, right? Your number one asset is yourself. And so investing in the most important asset you have is imperative. And this is what I say to my clients. That is so, so important. And I have to say, it wasn't something I realized before, and it wasn't something I had before. But when I became a coach and set up the coaching business, it was like, oh my gosh, everybody needs a coach. I can't imagine not having a coach. And I get coaching to this day, and I've always had it. Celebrate your wins and acknowledge yourself. Take a moment to celebrate how far you've come. Acknowledge your effort, not just your results. Right? Too often, high achievers focus on what's next without recognizing their growth along the way. And we spoke about the gap and the gain. And just constantly focusing on how far they've still got to go. And I'm all about celebrating all your wins, right? So create rituals to celebrate all the small victories. And we have something called #wins on a Friday in our group where we celebrate, what are the wins of the week, #wins of the week. And it will really reinforce your belief that you're doing amazing already. And again, this is really about you filling yourself up and acknowledging, who you are and what you've done, and really taking a moment to pause to do that. You do not need to wait for someone else to acknowledge your progress or to validate what you've done and who you are. You get to do that to yourself. And my final practical way to really help you work with your high achieving tendencies is to believe in yourself just a little bit more every single day. Progress isn't about giant leaps. It's about the small, consistent steps forward. It's about you showing up and doing your thing step by step by step. Trust that you're growing and learning and becoming stronger and making a difference with every step that you take, right? Your belief in yourself and your self-concept, your thoughts about yourself is the foundation of everything else. So really take time daily to nurture it, right? Believe in yourself just a little bit more every single day. And that can look like so many things. And I think that's a whole nother podcast, but literally just taking some time to reflect on the things that we've spoken about today, that is a massive step forward in you believing in yourself. So that is all my practical ways. And I know that was a lot to take in. So be sure to go back and listen to some of that to really take down some of those gems. Here's what I would invite you to think, right? It's really important to remember that being a high achiever doesn't mean you need to be perfect. And we've spoken about progress, not perfection. It's about being messy, scrappy, perfectly imperfect, contrary to what your brain tells you, right? And this is something I've leaned into, which is why, look, I'm just here doing my thing, right? Is it perfect? No. Does it need to be? No. But am I doing it? Yes, 100%. You'll get me here on the podcast doing my thing, and that's what I'm about. And know that your value is not measured by your productivity or your accomplishments alone. It's about being the best version of yourself on a daily basis, no matter where you are on your journey, based on where you find yourself, right? It's about being the best version of who you are in the moment with what you have. And this is so important because when we shift our thinking in terms of these high achieving tendencies, we can really let go of that constant pressure we place on ourselves. And that is the biggie for me. Like, it's just really lightening the load, taking that heavy backpack off that we've been carrying around for a long time and freeing ourselves from all that burden that we put on ourselves. And you can move away from that exhausting cycle of self-doubt and perfectionism and overwhelm and start embracing your achievements, your growth, and your own well-being and your boundaries. And this balance allows you to continue to be who you truly are without burning out. And being a high achiever, as we've spoken about, is a gift and a challenge, but we get to ride the gift, right? We get to really work with all the goodness that we have and that we bring from what I've shared with you today, and learning how to embrace the characteristics intentionally. You can really tune into the next version and the next level of this beautiful tendency and beautiful characteristic that we have. So let me end with this quote from the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this is a really lovely book for creatives and really tuning into a lot of this high achiever tendencies that I've spoken about today. And I love what she says. She says, do whatever brings you to life. Follow your own fascinations, obsessions, and compulsions. Trust them. Create whatever causes a revolution in your heart. This quote beautifully reflects the balance between pursuing ambition and staying connected to your true self, which is a perfect fit for us high achievers. Thank you for sticking with me and tuning into another episode of Live Your True Self podcast. I hope that served you and has really sparked your thinking in terms of being a high achiever. I am here to support you. Reach out to me and let me know how that landed for you. If you have any questions, if you want to jump on a call, right, and move through any of these things that I've spoken about and to unpack your thinking and to really go after and achieve your goals using all your goodness. Until next week, keep shining your light and may you always live your true self. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to another episode of Live Your True Self podcast. If you want to learn more about my work and how I can support you, come visit me at namishapatelowen.com and be sure to sign up for my weekly email to receive more mindset insights. It's an honor to continue serving you on your growth journey. Bye for now.